My daughter Jasmine stood in the center of her living room, the one I helped her buy, and screamed words that still echo in my skull. "Get out of my house!" Everyone froze. My granddaughter Mira, my son Kendrick, my younger daughter Uriel, all staring at me like I was a stranger who'd wandered in from the street. But it was Elvis, my son-in-law, who really caught my attention. He was smiling. Not just smiling, grinning, arms crossed, leaning against the wall like he'd just won a game I didn't know we were playing. That's when I realized this wasn't about something I'd done. This was about something I was about to find out. I'm 67 years old, buried my wife Matilda 3 years ago, worked as a forensic accountant for 4 decades, which means I know exactly what people look like when they're hiding money. And my son-in-law? He had that look plastered all over his face, so I didn't yell back, didn't defend myself, didn't even move. I just said one sentence, 11 words that made Elvis's smile disappear and turned my daughter's face white. "Elvis, does Jasmine know you've been refinancing this house behind her back?" The silence that followed didn't just fill the room, it suffocated it. What I said next didn't start an argument. It ended a lie they'd been building for months, maybe years. And what I found buried in county records, bank statements, and hidden folders. It wasn't just fraud, it was a plan to erase me completely. My name is Uriel Thompson. Wait, no, that's my daughter. My name is Malcolm Thompson. And this is the story of how my own family tried to bury me alive, and how I made sure they'd never forget I was still breathing. But here's the thing. What Elvis did with that $170,000, that's just the surface. What my daughter was hiding, that's the part that nearly destroyed me. If you've ever trusted someone who stabbed you in the back, if you've ever been the only one telling the truth in a room full of liars, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button. Smash the bell icon so you don't miss a single chapter. Drop a comment below telling me, have you ever been betrayed by family? Because this story gets darker before it gets light. And if you don't subscribe, you'll never know what I found in Elvis's office that made my daughter call me at 2 a.m., crying and begging for forgiveness. It starts now. Don't look away. Sunday dinners at Jasmine's house used to be sacred. Every week since Matilda died, I'd show up at 5 p.m. sharp with a bottle of wine and a story about your grandmother that would make Mira laugh. Jasmine would cook her mother's pot roast recipe, never quite as good as the original, but close enough to make my chest ache. Kendrick would talk about his marketing job. Uriel would complain about her graduate program. Elvis would nod along, pretending to care. It was the only thing keeping me tethered to the world after Matilda's heart gave out in our kitchen 3 years ago. But tonight felt wrong from the moment I pulled into the driveway. Elvis's truck was parked at an angle, blocking the mailbox. The porch light was off, and when I knocked, nobody answered for a full 30 seconds. When the door finally opened, it was Mira, 10 years old, eyes red. "Hi, Grandpa," she whispered. "Hey, sweetheart, you okay?" She didn't answer, just stepped aside. The house was too quiet. Kendrick sat on the couch scrolling his phone. Uriel stood by the fireplace, arms wrapped around herself. Jasmine was in the kitchen, slamming cabinet doors. And Elvis was leaning against the dining room archway, watching me like a hawk watching a mouse. "Malcolm," he said, "not Dad, not Mr. Thompson, just Malcolm." "Elvis," I replied, matching his tone. I set the wine on the counter. Jasmine didn't look at me. "You're late," she said. I checked my watch. 5:02 p.m. "Traffic," I lied. "Always an excuse with you." I blinked. "Jasmine, don't." She spun around and I saw it in her face. She'd been crying, but not sad crying, angry crying, the kind Matilda used to do when she was gearing up for a fight. Kendrick cleared his throat. "Maybe we should just eat." "No." Jasmine cut him off. "No, we're doing this now." Elvis pushed off the archway. "Babe, maybe." "I said now, Elvis." She wiped her hands on a towel and walked into the living room. We all followed like kids called to the principal's office. She stood in the center of the room. I sat on the arm of the couch. Mira disappeared upstairs. "Dad," Jasmine started, and I hated the way she said it. Cold, rehearsed. "We need to talk about your living situation." My living situation. I rented a one-bedroom apartment downtown, paid my bills on time, kept to myself, went to the senior center on Tuesdays for chess club. "What about it?" I asked carefully. "You're not getting any younger," Elvis chimed in, "and that apartment, no offense, it's not exactly safe for someone your age." "Someone my age? I'm 67, not 90. "I'm fine," I said. "You're not fine." Jasmine's voice cracked. "You're alone. You're isolated. You won't ask for help." "I don't need help." "See?" Elvis gestured at me like I'd just proved his point. "This is what we're talking about. Pride, stubbornness." Kendrick shifted uncomfortably. Uriel stared at the floor. "We think," Jasmine continued, "that it might be time to look into assisted living options." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Assisted living. A nursing home. "You want to put me in a home?" I said slowly. "We want you to be safe," Jasmine snapped. "We want you to be around people, to have support, to stop pretending like you don't need anyone." Her voice rose with every word. Elvis put a hand on her shoulder. She shook it off. "This isn't a discussion, Dad. We've already looked at places. There's a nice facility in Riverside." "No." "Dad." I said no, Jasmine. That's when she exploded. "This is exactly why we can't trust you to make decisions anymore. You're selfish. You've always been selfish. You controlled Mom, you control us, and I am done letting you manipulate this family." I stood up. My heart was pounding. "Manipulate?" I repeated. "Yes, manipulate," she was shouting now. "You show up here every week with your sad stories and your guilt trips and your presence, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of taking care of you. I'm sick of worrying about you. I'm sick of you." Kendrick stood. "Jasmine, that's enough." "No, it's not enough." She turned to me, tears streaming. "I want you to leave. Right now." Elvis stepped forward and smiled. I should have left. Any sane man would have grabbed his coat, walked out, and never looked back. But I'm not sane. I'm a father, and fathers don't abandon their children, even when their children are trying to abandon them. So I stood there, silent, watching. Elvis's smile widened. He thought he'd won. Jasmine was still crying, but there was something performative about it now, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. Kendrick looked like he wanted to disappear into the couch. Uriel finally met my eyes, and I saw it. "I'm sorry, Dad, but I can't help you." That hurt worse than anything Jasmine had screamed. "Dad." Jasmine's voice dropped to something almost gentle. Almost. "Please, just go. We'll talk later when you've calmed down." When I've calmed down. I almost laughed. Instead, I did what I've done my entire career. I stayed calm and let the evidence speak. "Elvis," I said quietly, "does Jasmine know you've been refinancing this house behind her back?" The air left the room. Elvis's smile didn't just fade, it collapsed. His face went slack, then red, then white. Jasmine's head whipped toward him. "What?" "Dad, what are you talking about?" Kendrick stood up. I kept my eyes on Elvis. "You took out a second mortgage 8 months ago, $170,000. The county records are public, son. I checked." "That's," Elvis stammered. "That's not. You're confused." "Am I?" I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened the photo I'd saved, the one I'd been carrying around like a loaded gun, waiting for the right moment. I held it up. It was a screenshot of the county assessor's website. Clear as day. Refinance, $170,000. Borrower, Elvis Hartman. Date, March 15th. Jasmine snatched the phone from my hand. Her face drained of color. "Elvis?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "What is this?" "Babe, I can explain." What is this? It's an investment, he blurted. A business opportunity. I was going to tell you. An investment, I said softly. Is that what you're calling Vanessa now? Dead. Silence. Kendrick's mouth fell open. Uriel gasped. Jasmine looked at me like I'd just shot her. Who, she said slowly, is Vanessa? Elvis's eyes darted to the door, to the stairs, anywhere but his wife. There's no Vanessa, he said quickly. Your dad's making things up. Vanessa Morales, I said. Your business partner. The one you flew to Scottsdale with last February while Jasmine thought you were at a contractors' conference. I pulled up another photo. This one from Facebook. A public post. Elvis and a brunette woman clinking champagne glasses at a resort poolside. Her caption, "Best business trip ever." I turned the phone toward Jasmine. She stared at it. Then she stared at Elvis. Then she whispered, "Get out." Jasmine, "Get out of my house." But this time she wasn't screaming at me. Elvis tried to speak. She threw my phone at him. It hit his chest and clattered to the floor. I said, "Get out." He backed toward the door, hands up like she was holding a weapon. "You're being crazy right now." "I'm being crazy," Jasmine laughed, high, sharp, broken. "You stole from me. You cheated on me. And you tried to convince me my father was the problem." Kendrick moved between them. "Elvis, I think you should go." "This is my house." "Actually," I said quietly, "it's Jasmine's. Her name is on the deed. Yours isn't. I made sure of that when I co-signed the down payment." Elvis's face twisted into something ugly. "You manipulative old bastard." Kendrick grabbed his arm. "Leave, now." For a second I thought Elvis might swing at him. But he didn't. He just looked at me. Really looked, and I saw the moment he realized he'd lost. "This isn't over," he hissed. "Yes," I said. "It is." He stormed out. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Jasmine collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Uriel ran to her. Kendrick stood frozen. And I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of the wine I'd brought, and waited, because I knew what came next. The anger would fade. The shock would settle. And then Jasmine would ask the question I'd been dreading. "How long have you known?" Elvis is gone. But the real nightmare? It's just beginning. Because what I found in those county records was just the tip of the iceberg. Wait until you hear what Elvis was really planning to do with me, and how close he came to succeeding. Subscribe right now, or you'll miss where Jasmine asks me the question that almost broke us forever. Hit that like button if you think Elvis deserves what's coming. Comment below, Team Malcolm or Team Jasmine. And smash that bell icon, because next chapter drops soon, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens when I show Jasmine the folder I've been hiding in my car. The truth gets uglier. But so does my revenge. The silence after Elvis left was suffocating. Jasmine sat curled on the couch, mascara streaking her face. Uriel rubbed her back in slow circles, whispering things I couldn't hear. Kendrick paced by the window, hands in his pockets, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. Mira hadn't come back downstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, sipping wine I couldn't taste, watching my family fall apart in the next room. It took 17 minutes. 17 minutes before Jasmine lifted her head, looked directly at me, and asked the question that would change everything between us. "How long have you known?" Her voice was flat, empty, the kind of empty that comes right before rage or right before breaking completely. I set down my glass. 2 months, I said. The room went cold. 2 months? Jasmine stood up slowly, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "You've known for 2 months that my husband was... She couldn't even finish the sentence. "Stealing from you," I finished quietly. "Yes." "And you didn't tell me?" "I wanted to be sure." "You wanted to be sure?" Her voice cracked like a whip. "You had proof, and you just... What? Watched?" Waited for the perfect moment to humiliate me in front of my entire family? That's not what happened. Then what was it, Dad? She stepped closer, trembling with fury. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you used my marriage as some kind of trap, like you wanted to catch Elvis so you could swoop in and be the hero. Kendrick stopped pacing. Jasmine, that's not fair. Stay out of this, she snapped. Uriel's hand dropped from Jasmine's shoulder. I took a breath, steadied myself. I didn't tell you, I said slowly, because I hoped I was wrong. And then when I knew I wasn't wrong, I didn't tell you because... My voice caught. I cleared my throat. Because I knew what it would do to you. What it would do to me? Jasmine laughed bitterly. You mean what it would do to your perfect little Sunday dinners? Your weekly visits where you get to pretend Mom's still alive and we're still a happy family? The words hit like a fist to the sternum. Jasmine, Uriel tried. No, he gets to hear this. Jasmine turned back to me, eyes blazing. You've been holding this over my head for 8 weeks while I... Her voice broke. She covered her face with her hands. While I defended him to you, she whispered through her fingers. While I told you that you were imagining things, that you were getting paranoid in your old age, while I screamed at you tonight and told you to leave and... Oh, God. She sank back onto the couch. I chose him over you, she said to her knees, and you already knew he was lying. I wanted to go to her, put my arm around her like I did when she was little and came home crying because some boy had been mean to her. But I couldn't move, because she was right. I had waited. I had watched. I had let her defend a man I knew was destroying her. I'm sorry, I said. Sorry doesn't fix this. I know. Kendrick finally spoke. Dad, why tonight? Why tell us now? I looked at my son, 29 years old, sharp mind, too trusting, too much like his mother. Because tonight wasn't about pot roast, I said. Tonight was about getting me out of the way. They all stared at me. I walked to my coat, still draped over the dining room chair, and pulled out a manila folder I'd tucked into the inner pocket. This, I said, holding it up, is what Elvis didn't want me to find. Jasmine looked up. What is it? Loan documents, applications for a reverse mortgage on my apartment, filed 3 weeks ago. Silence. The signatures are forged, I continued. My signature. Notarized with a fake seal. Elvis was trying to take out a loan against my property using fraudulent power of attorney paperwork. Kendrick's face went white. That's illegal. Very illegal, I said. And it gets worse. I opened the folder, showed them the second set of documents. These are preliminary intake forms for Riverside Senior Living, filled out in Jasmine's name, listing me as a patient with early-stage dementia and increasing violent outbursts. Jasmine shot to her feet. I didn't. I know, I said gently. Your signature is forged too. The room tilted. Uriel grabbed the back of a chair. Kendrick swore under his breath. Jasmine stared at the papers like they were written in a language she didn't understand. He was going to put you in a home, she whispered, using my name. And once I was locked away, I said, he'd have access to everything. The trust, Matilda's estate, my apartment, all of it. But why? Uriel's voice was small, scared. Why would he do this? I closed the folder. Because, I said quietly, I'm the only one who'd noticed the money disappearing. Jasmine held the folder with both hands, staring at her own forged signature like it might suddenly become real if she looked long enough. Who helped him? She whispered. That was the question. The one I'd been asking myself for 3 weeks. The one that had kept me up at night, replaying every conversation, every interaction, every Sunday dinner for the past 6 months. Forging a signature is one thing. Any halfway decent criminal can learn that from YouTube. But getting access to Jasmine's social security number, her mother's maiden name, the name of her first pet, security questions for her bank accounts, that required someone on the inside, someone she trusted. I looked at Kendrick, then at Uriel. "Dad," Kendrick said slowly, reading my face, "you don't think—" "No," I said quickly. "Not you two." "Then who?" Uriel asked. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, scrolled to the message I'd received 4 days ago from a private investigator I'd hired, an old colleague from my accounting firm who specialized in financial fraud. "Her name is Claire Matheson," I said. "She works at Riverside Senior Living as an intake coordinator." I turned the phone toward them. The photo showed a woman in her early 40s. Blonde, professional smile, the kind of face you'd trust immediately. "She's also," I continued, "Elvis's ex-wife." The air left the room. Jasmine's head snapped up. "His what?" "They were married for 6 years, divorced 8 years ago. No kids. She kept her maiden name professionally, so it never came up in background checks." Kendrick grabbed the phone, zooming in on the photo. "How did you—" "I ran his financials," I said. "Alimony payments. Stopped 3 years ago when she remarried, but they stayed in contact. Monthly phone calls, Venmo payments labeled lunch and coffee." "Jesus Christ," Uriel breathed. Jasmine stood frozen, folder still clutched in her hands. "He stayed friends with his ex-wife," she said slowly, "for 8 years, and never mentioned it. Not once." "Not just friends," I said. "Business partners. Claire had access to Riverside's database, patient information, intake protocols. She could make someone disappear into the system with a few keystrokes and the right paperwork." "But why?" Jasmine's voice cracked. "Why would she help him do this?" I pulled up another photo, this one from the private investigator's report, a bank statement. "Because Elvis promised her $50,000 once the reverse mortgage went through," I said, "and another $30,000 when my apartment sold. There's a paper trail, encrypted emails, financial projections. They'd been planning this for almost a year." Kendrick sank into a chair. "A year?" "Since right after Mom's funeral," I said quietly. That landed like a bomb. Jasmine's hands started shaking. The folder slipped from her fingers, papers scattering across the floor. "He sat next to me at her funeral," she whispered, "held my hand, told me everything would be okay, and the whole time he was— She couldn't finish. Uriel picked up the scattered papers, staring at them like they might bite. "What do we do?" she asked. I looked at my youngest daughter, 26, grad student, still believed the world was fundamentally fair. "We call the police," Kendrick said firmly. "This is fraud, elder abuse, forgery. He goes to prison for this." "No," Jasmine said suddenly. We all turned. She'd stopped crying. Her face was dry, hard. "Not yet," she said. "Jasmine," I started. "No." She bent down, gathering the papers with steady hands. "If we call the police now, Elvis disappears. Lawyers up, drags this out for years, blames everything on Claire, gets a plea deal." She stood, papers organized, eyes clear. "I want him to hurt," she said quietly. "The way he hurt us, the way he was going to hurt you, Dad." Kendrick shifted uncomfortably. "What are you saying?" Jasmine looked at me, and I saw Matilda in her face. That same steel spine, that same quiet fury. "I'm saying we don't just send him to prison," she said. "We destroy him first." Uriel's eyes went wide. "Jasmine—" "He planned this for a year," Jasmine continued, voice rising, "while I cooked his dinners and washed his clothes and believed his lies. While Dad sat alone in that apartment, and we almost let him." Her voice broke. She cleared her throat. "No," she said. "No, we do this right. We take everything from him. His business, his reputation, his future. And then we send him to prison." She turned to me. "You know how to do that, don't you, Dad?" I looked at my daughter, 42 years old, accountant, detail-oriented, her mother's child. "Yes," I said. "I do." Kendrick stood. "I'm in." Uriel hesitated, then nodded. "Me too." Jasmine held out her hand. I took it. Then let's burn him down, she said. We met at my apartment the next morning. All four of us, coffee brewing, laptops open, documents spread across my kitchen table like we were planning a heist. In a way, we were. Jasmine had barely slept. I could see it in the dark circles under her eyes. But her hands were steady as she organized the papers into neat piles. Accountant brain activated. Her mother's daughter. Kendrick brought his marketing expertise. We control the narrative, he said, before Elvis can spin this. Uriel, the quietest of my children, surprised me. I have a friend who works at the local news station, she said softly. Investigative reporting. If we give her the story— No, I said. Not yet. First, we need to know everyone involved. Claire and Elvis, Jasmine ticked off on her fingers. That's 2. 3, I corrected. They all looked at me. I pulled out my phone, opened a text thread I'd been monitoring for 2 weeks. Not reading, that would be illegal. But my phone provider had flagged unusual activity on the family plan Matilda had set up years ago. A number I didn't recognize. Texting someone in our family. Regularly. I'd paid for the records. Someone's been feeding Elvis information, I said quietly, about our family meetings, about what I was doing, about my routines. The room went cold. Who? Kendrick asked. I turned the phone around. The number belonged to a contact saved as B, and the last text, sent yesterday at 4:47 p.m., right before I arrived at Jasmine's house, read, He's on his way. Stick to the script. This needs to look natural. Jasmine's face drained of color. That was sent during the dinner. Before everything. Someone told Elvis I was coming, I said. Someone told him to provoke you, to make the confrontation look like my fault. But who would— Uriel stopped mid-sentence, because we were all thinking the same thing. Only 5 people knew about our Sunday dinners. Only 5 people knew my schedule, my habits, my weaknesses. Jasmine, Kendrick, Uriel, Mira, and one other person. Kendrick's face hardened. No, absolutely not. We have to check, I said gently. Dad, she would never— Then we eliminate her as a suspect, I said. But we have to check. Jasmine looked at Kendrick. Who are you talking about? My son's jaw tightened. Brielle. His girlfriend of 2 years. The woman he'd told me, just 3 months ago, he was planning to propose to. Kendrick brought her to 2 Sunday dinners, I said quietly. She has access to the family group chat. She knows where I live. She's not involved, Kendrick said firmly. Then help me prove it, I replied. It took 4 hours. 4 hours of phone records, social media deep dives, and cross-referencing timestamps. And then Uriel found it. Oh my God, she whispered, turning her laptop toward us. A Facebook message. Public. Posted 3 months ago on a community group called Small Business Networking, Metro Area. The post was from Brielle. Does anyone know a good contractor for home renovations? Looking for someone reliable and affordable. Thanks. The top comment posted 2 days later. Elvis Hartman. Hartman Construction. He's amazing. Did our whole kitchen. DM me for his contact info. The commenter's profile picture showed a blonde woman in her 40s. Claire Matheson. Kendrick stared at the screen. That doesn't mean— Look at the date, Jasmine said quietly. 3 months ago. Right when Elvis started asking about my living situation. Right when the forged documents were first drafted. Kendrick grabbed his phone. Dialed. Put it on speaker. It rang 4 times. Hey, babe. Brielle's voice was bright, cheerful. What's up? Where are you? Kendrick asked, voice tight. At work. Why? I need you to come to Dad's apartment, right now. A pause. Is everything okay? Just come, please. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up. We waited in silence. Brielle arrived 17 minutes later, breathless and worried. She knocked twice. Kendrick let her in. What's going on? She looked around at all of us. Is someone hurt? Sit down, Kendrick said. She sat, confused, scared. I slid the laptop across the table, showed her the Facebook post. "Do you know this woman?" I asked gently. Brielle squinted at the screen. I think so. She commented on my contractor post. Why? "Did you hire Elvis?" Jasmine asked. "What? No, Kendrick and I rent. We don't need—" She stopped, looked at Kendrick. "What is this about?" "Did you give Elvis information about this family?" I asked. Her eyes went wide. "What? No, I barely know him." "Did you tell anyone outside this family about our Sunday dinners?" Kendrick pressed. She hesitated. "I mean, I mentioned it to my sister once, and maybe to my co-worker, but I didn't think—" "What did you tell them?" I asked. Brielle's voice got smaller. "Just that you had this weekly tradition, that you seemed lonely since your wife died, that Kendrick was worried about you living alone." She stopped. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I told my co-worker you might need to move into assisted living. She said she had a friend who worked at a facility." "Claire," I said. Brielle nodded, tears forming. "She gave me her card, said to call if you ever needed help. I threw it away. I didn't think. Kendrick, I swear I didn't know." My son pulled her into his arms. She started crying. "You were the entry point," Jasmine said quietly. "Innocent, but you gave them everything they needed." I stood up, walked to the window. Claire had used Brielle like a door, gotten close to the family, gathered information, fed it to Elvis, and we'd never suspected a thing. "What do we do now?" Uriel asked. I turned around, looked at my children, at Brielle, crying into Kendrick's shoulder, at the evidence scattered across my table. "Now," I said, "now we finish this." 3 weeks later, I stood in a courtroom wearing my best suit, the one Matilda bought me for our 40th anniversary. Elvis sat 30 feet away, flanked by 2 lawyers he couldn't afford. The gallery was packed. Jasmine, Kendrick, Uriel, even Mira, who'd insisted on coming despite Jasmine's protests. And in the back row, reporters. 3 of them, including Uriel's friend from the news station. The judge read the charges: attempted fraud, elder abuse, forgery, identity theft. But we hadn't just called the police. Oh no. We'd done something much worse. 2 weeks earlier, Kendrick had launched a website, The Real Elvis Hartman. Every forged document, every email with Claire, every photo with Vanessa, every fraudulent loan application, all of it, public, searchable, permanent. Within 48 hours, it had gone viral in our community. Elvis's business license was suspended pending investigation. His contractors' association dropped him. 3 former clients filed lawsuits claiming billing irregularities. Claire was fired from Riverside and arrested as an accomplice. Vanessa, turns out she didn't know about the fraud, cooperated with prosecutors in exchange for immunity, handed over every text, every email, every receipt. And Brielle? She gave a deposition that buried him, testified about how Claire had manipulated her, how the information had been extracted slowly, carefully, innocently. The prosecution had everything. But the real ending, it happened after the sentencing. Elvis got 18 months, plus restitution, plus probation, plus a felony record that meant he'd never work in construction again. Claire got 3 years. The house, Jasmine's house, was sold. She paid me back every penny I'd invested in the down payment. Split the rest with Mira's college fund. She'd started dating that teacher, Marcus. He was good to her. Patient, kind, everything Elvis wasn't. Kendrick and Brielle worked through it. Therapy, long conversations, rebuilding trust. She'd been innocent, just naive. They're engaged now. Small ceremony next spring. Uriel finished her graduate program, landed a research position. Still calls me every Tuesday. And me? I didn't move into that duplex Jasmine bought. Instead, Mira moved in with me. Jasmine got joint custody in the divorce, and on her weeks, Mira stayed at my apartment, helped me cook dinner, did homework at my kitchen table, told me about boys and school and dreams, filled the silence Matilda left behind. "Grandpa," she said one night, months after the trial, "do you regret it? Exposing Elvis like that?" I thought about it. About the Sunday dinners we'd never get back. About the daughter who'd screamed at me to leave. About the plan that almost stole everything. "No," I said honestly. "I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret protecting this family." She hugged me, and I realized something. Revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. Elvis tried to erase me, make me disappear, convince my own children I was the problem. But I'm still here, still standing, still a father. And that's the real victory. Last Sunday, Jasmine hosted dinner again. New house, new tradition. She cooked pot roast. Not as good as Matilda's, but close enough. And when I walked through that door, she hugged me and whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't believe you, Dad." I held my daughter and said the only thing that mattered, "I forgive you." Because that's what fathers do. We forgive, we protect, we survive, and we never, ever let the bastards win. This is Malcolm Thompson, 67 years old, forensic accountant, widower, father, and the man who refused to disappear. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever been betrayed, gaslit, or told you were the problem when you were actually the solution, do me one favor, subscribe to this channel, because there are more stories like mine, more people who fought back, more families who survived. Hit that like button. If you believe justice isn't just about courts, it's about truth. Comment below and tell me, what would you have done? Have you ever had to choose between peace and protecting the people you love? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been made to feel small, someone who thinks they're alone. Because they're not. None of us are. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. Thank you for being here. This is Malcolm Thompson, signing off. And remember, the people who try to erase you, they're counting on you staying quiet. Don't give them that satisfaction. Ever.